David Marsden, senior Democratic senator, state senator from Northern Virginia. Dave, great to have you with us, sir.
John, it's good to be here. I just realized I'm the James River heir of Fairfax County, the answer to every one of my constituents' problems.
That's it. Well, you know what? Nobody does constituent service really better than Dave Marsden. He's in touch. That's why I love Dave and getting him on. He's in touch with his constituents. He knocks on doors 12 months and just gets a feel what his constituents are saying. That's how he's been so successful, and he's a great state senator. Dave, let's talk about guns, okay? And help us understand this. This is why I wanted to have you on today. I've got 3 Republican legislators in the House of Delegates: Jason Miyares, Glenn Davis, and Tim Hugo, your buddy there in Northern Virginia. And Miyares has got a bill for universal background checks are closing the loophole in Virginia, and secondly, to really extend and tighten up red flag laws with due process. Can we get this passed? Is there any way that Republicans and Democrats can come together in Virginia, Senator, and get a clean bill and just start there? Or if he tries to propose it, are people like Mark Levine going to tack on all kinds of crazy stuff? How do you get this done?
Well, it would have been a lot easier. We just passed on a great opportunity with the special session to hear these bills out in front of the legislature where everybody's there and able to debate them and hear testimony. And instead, we send it to the Crime Commission. And so, we had an ample opportunity here just a little while ago when the governor called a special session to do exactly that. And, certainly we're open to discussing, good bills. These are bills that Democrats have introduced in the past. I don't know the particulars of each of their version of the bill, but certainly it's a great starting point. And yes, it is something that Democrats and Republicans can work on. But John, we've been stonewalled for how many years now on anything with regards to life-saving gun safety bills, and now all of a sudden, the national trend is changing, and we see Republicans stepping forward. That's good. That's politics. That's the way it works. But certainly, we'd be certainly willing to look at their bills, as long as they're willing to look at some of the measures that we're going to put forward as well.
So the fear is that the Republicans I've talked to who don't want to touch this, here's what they fear. They sign on to Miyares' bill, like a couple have, Hugo and Davis, right? They get out there, the gun lobby, the Phil Van Cleaves of the world. Phil, right? You had him on the show we did one time. Nice guy. They start to bully. The NRA comes in. Everybody gets scared, and the Republicans go back to their respective trenches. And the fear is that what everybody is saying about the red flag and the universal background check is the Democrats will never stop there. Like, as soon as they do that, they want to tag everything else on. They want to outlaw magazines. They want to get rid of assault weapons. They want to do this and that. And nobody will just step back and say, okay, this is a good start. Let's do this and see what happens. How do you respond to that, Dave Marsden?
Well, John, let me first say this. The way I've sort of earned my living, if you will, on my day job over the past 14 years is running Justice Department projects around the country to reduce youth violence. And, this is bringing, all the elements of the public and private sector together to solve, violence problems. And, the one thing that we're not allowed to discuss, because they're federal projects, is gun safety. And it's been an issue that has been sort of kept off the study platform, because of Republican positions in Congress. We need to get real serious gun safety measures studied. We have some information. We could use more, but the issue here is, if you're going to do something, we need to approach this in a more scientific, fact-based matter. We have two different problems. The one that concerns people the most, obviously, is the random shootings that take place. That's one set of bills that may deal with that. That would involve assault weapons bans. It would involve reductions in magazines and bump stocks and things like that. Then you have the larger problem of gun safety in the home. Actually, the suppliers for people who use guns irresponsible are responsible gun owners, because they die without making plans for their guns. They fall into irresponsible hands. Their children don't handle them respectfully. They sell them. They give them away. They filter down into irresponsible hands. That's a different set of gun safety measures. So we have to approach this in a holistic kind of way, is to determine what problems we're going to try to solve, get the data together to solve them, and then introduce legislation that addresses the data that we've come up with to do that. And, we have a lot of that data. I think the American people could stand for the Centers for Disease Control to do some really comprehensive stuff, and let's get out there and do some things that will be effective to make our homes safe, to make it so that people don't feel like they have to carry weapons to protect themselves because their government is taking some measures to ensure that guns don't get into the wrong hands.
All right, so how do you go forward? I mean, look, I agree with you, Senator, 100%. I was very opposed to the way the Republicans handled this special session, kicking it to the curb, kicking it to the Crime Commission after the election. It just seemed like a weasel move to me. And as you know, from being on my show when I was there that day, I was not happy about that, and I thought it was the absolute wrong thing for Republicans to do. I think you hear the bills out, you defeat the ones that don't make any sense, and you maybe take up some that did, so that you did something rather than nothing. Miera says, okay, I'm going to go to the speaker, and I'm going to ask him for a one-day session on a Sunday or Saturday, because everybody has to work, and see if we can hear my bills, and then maybe we can get a bipartisan quorum together and pass something maybe in September. What do you think about that?
Well, it's a nice idea. Let's just do something that only the Republican bills will be heard in, and we'll get what we want, and then we'll go out and tell everybody we've solved the problem because we passed our version of gun safety. And they might be good bills, but we need a more comprehensive approach than that. That's obviously, John, being used for political purposes to make it look like we're really doing something about guns. Jason Miyares is a very good guy, and he's got a bill that does something to work on the gun problem, and then he's off the hook. He's done his thing. Republicans have done their thing. Why are Democrats still concerned about gun safety? Boy, we did something. That's not the way to approach this problem. You have to approach things comprehensively and think big. You can't nibble away at this thing with a few small bills that give people political cover to get reelected. That just doesn't work.
Do you think that the background check loophole in Virginia should be closed?
No, not a bit. It's something that I've introduced in the past. The gun show loophole is really the more insignificant compared to the universal background check of people who are buying and trading and selling guns. Let me tell you something. I had a friend of mine who's an attorney. Somebody was getting out of prison who had made threats against his life. This guy was truly, truly crazy and dangerous. And the fact is, this friend of mine who has no interest in firearms and has never had one before, because this guy can go back to their hometown and buy one on the streets, buy one without a background check off the internet, do whatever he feels like doing, and puts this guy and his family in danger. And he's having to wear a gun because his government won't protect him. And just doing a few things just to get something out of the way, it's all very nice. But we've come to a point now where we need a comprehensive solution. And I'm sure Jason is serious, and I'm sure he's sincere about it, and I'm sure Glenn Davis is, and whoever else you had mentioned. But that's not the way to approach this problem, is to just knock something off and think that that's going to do it. But yes, background checks are a good thing, and the universal background check's the only way to go.
Okay, so that's in his bill. And do you believe in extending the red flag law, making a red flag law in Virginia where you have due process, that you just can't go to, complain about somebody and cops go in and take their guns, but you have due process. I think Jason's bill is you get 14 days to prove otherwise. But certainly if we had a red flag law in Dayton, that would have either stopped that nut job from getting a gun and killing all those people, or it would have been confiscated based on what he has said in the social media. If you look at Parkland in Florida, David, cops visited that kid's house 32 times. He lived in a trailer with his parents. They were there 32 times. No way he would have gotten a gun if he had a red flag law. Do you believe in that?
Well, the thing is that there have been a red flag law, and he can still go to a gun show and buy something in the parking lot.
Not if you pass both of them. So you have the universal background check, close the loopholes, which Jason has said. Then you have the red flag law. I'm just asking you straight up if you think that those two laws are a good thing or not. Would you be in favor of those or not?
I think they are a good thing, but I think there are other gun measures that are of significant value that we need to discuss. And I would hate to go into a special session just to have one political party saying here are the three gun bills we're going to talk about, and no others. Even with Governor Northam's special session, people introduced all kinds of bills that would have been heard.
Crazy stuff. But here's so David, here's the problem. Therein lies the problem. Okay, you are not going to get a majority of Republicans to back any of the gun grab bills that your friend Delegate Levine was trying to put through, and all those other whack jobs you're dealing with.
I don't know what you're saying when you're talking about gun. It's not grabbing somebody's gun to reduce the size of a magazine or to prevent a bump.
Well, they're not. You're not going to pass that. But you're not going to pass it. You're not going to pass limiting magazines, limiting clicks, bump stops. You're not going to pass any of that. So you got an opportunity to pass something. And you're claiming that Mieres is doing it for political expediency, but I would challenge you, Senator, because you've been a leader on this issue. I mean, if we don't get a compromise and start somewhere, everybody goes back to their respective rabbit holes, and that's the end of it, and you get nothing. And I guess what you guys want to do is just take that into November as your big issue, when I got a guy that's gone out on a limb, fighting the NRA, fighting the VCDL and your buddy Phil Van Cleve on social media, fighting that and saying, look, can we start here, get something done, and then see if that works and move forward? And your response is,
but let's start together. Let's sit down and let's do some additional measures that we're interested in. Again, Republicans are controlling the legislature. If you do this thing, they can kill our bills and send theirs forward, but don't just bring it forward with three ideas of theirs and where you don't hear any ideas of ours. We've been working on this stuff for a long time, and Republicans are very late to this game. And then to all of a sudden say, hey, okay, now it's just us. And I would like to get something started for sure, but let's hear everybody's ideas, and then let's pass what makes sense that will actually be effective. Because what I would hate to see, John, is to pass a couple of measures and then go, you see, we tried that and we still are having shootings, and so no more gun bills, and that's wrong. We need to approach this thing like adults and not as let's just throw a few things out there, get them done. And
you got to start somewhere. It's called a compromise.
Yes, they are good things that Mieres is talking about. However,
so call them up and start there. I mean, you're not going to get everything, right? This is the art of compromise. So you've now got three very high-profile Republicans in the House. Tim Hugo, third in charge of the caucus. Glenn Davis ran for statewide office, and Jason Mieres, who's a solid conservative. And I'm telling you, there's not three. There's probably 23. But everybody's scared. Everybody is petrified to go up against the local gun lobby. So I'm challenging Democrats like yourself, who've been at the forefront of this issue, to give them cover and say, hey, let's start somewhere and then go from there. But your attitude right now is, no, that's not good enough. I want all this other stuff, which no Republicans are going to vote for ever. And so you're not going to get anything done. And so it's just politics.
Let them
usual,
kill the bills,
and I'm
then.
Calling you
That's
on
the democratic process. But let's hear some other measures as well The speaker can decide what comes up there, but let's hear a comprehensive package that will actually solve the problem, rather than just throwing out a few things that will hopefully
It's
appease
not a
the
few
electorate
things. You guys have been
protect
complaining
people in the November elections. That's just
Senator,
sort of last minute.
You guys have been
stuff.
complaining.
We had the chance
about universal background checks. Oh my goodness! You've got 3 Republicans that are giving you an opportunity to work with them and get something done. And I've had you on my show numerous times, and I had you on today because you're very passionate about this, but you're also reasonable. And you've said, hey, we need universal background checks. You got them. Okay, we need a red flag law. We can't be selling guns to whack jobs. Okay, we got it. But now you're saying, oh, no, we have to debate Mark Levine's confiscation bill. I mean, as long as you got people like Levine running around,
we don't have to do anything, but hear us out as well. Hear us out as well on this issue. This has been our mantra since I got into the legislature with Tim Kaine, is that we need to do something about gun safety in this Commonwealth. And certainly they can call this special session. We'll vote for it, John. We'll have to, but it's not one where, hey, here's 3 guys who want to introduce bills because they need to for political purposes and for re-election, and let's hear their bills and protect them. And we don't want any other debate on the issue. We already blew one of those opportunities. You call this special session. True. Of course, we'll go there and we'll do our jobs and we'll vote for these kinds of measures. But that's not the way to do this. The way to do this is to put together a comprehensive package that's going to deal with the home safety issues that we have, the accidental shootings, the misappropriation of guns into criminal hands, as well as the mass shootings that we're having. And so what problem are we going to address? Are we going to address both of those? Are we going to address one of those? But we've got to take a comprehensive approach. The speaker, Kirk Cox, can call this session. The governor can call this session, and you guys, the Republicans, run the show.
Cox
they can introduce
the
bills. How we'll vote.
Forget the governor.
At the same time, we can also say that
the governor can't even get out of a tunnel, David. Forget the governor. If the governor calls a session, forget it. Everybody goes back to their entrenched positions because nobody takes this guy seriously. Come on, David. He can't call crap. If Cox calls the session, you got an opportunity to get something going, and it's not political. That's what I think. But look, I think
that would be for Kirk to call it and only listen to 3 Republican bills. That is political.
I'm for that.
Now, will we show up? Of course we will. Yep. Are we going to turn our backs on gun safety and not make some progress? Of course we'll do what we need to do. But that is not the way to do this. Kirk can call a special session, and he can have and he can limit it to the number of bills and allow us to have our say in some other areas. Of course, we're in favor of universal background checks and the red flag laws. And of course, we want people's rights to be protected in that process. But at the same time, there's more to be said here, and let's use the opportunity to do it.
I think we're saying the same thing. John Fredericks Radio Network, David Marsden, and I somehow got to the same place after 20 minutes. Thank you, Senator. I think we're saying the same thing. I really appreciate your time, and I just want my audience to know David Marsden has been a reasonable leader on this issue. Agree with him or not, he's got passion for it, and he's not proposed crazy stuff like whack job Levine. John Fredericks, Radio Network. Senator, thanks for being with us.